Hi everyone, welcome to the YouTube hop for live art journaling and self-development group on Facebook. To all those people who've joined me from Alexa's wonderful YouTube tutorial, welcome, and you'll be hopping along to Lucy after this, and you'll find all the descriptions and links in the description box below to find where you're going to next. So I'm starting off with my You Matter page by doing something that some of you may find really scary, but it really shouldn't be. And I'm putting me into my art journal because I don't do me in my art journal very often, and I matter too. And when I went looking for photos of me, I couldn't find many. I had to go back 6 months to get this collection of photos. Some of them are not flattering, some of them are really blurry because they were taken by my daughters. And one of my favourite ones, which is the most unflattering of all, is me hunched over my computer doing some work from home. But it was really interesting for me to see myself through my daughter's eyes and what they see me doing. And it was kind of a wake-up call. So I found it really, really valuable to go through and look at those photos and think about why I don't have photos of me, or why photos aren't being taken of me, and what I actually thought of those photos. So while it might be a little bit scary, it is really worthwhile process to go and do, and we're going to be covering up the photos anyway, so you don't need to share them with anyone. And that's what I'm doing now. So I'm just using a circle stencil, but any circle shape you've got. I decided what sort of sized circles fitted my photos the best, and then I did something else that was really scary. I actually tore a page out of my journal. So I'm working in a Delusions journal, and it went to the back and ripped out a page because I wanted to make sure that what I was gluing in here would match the page that I was working on. Now I'm making these as peekaboo flaps, so I'm just using a piece of masking tape. This is actually tape from Dina Wakely's media tape, but masking tape would work the same. So once I've stuck in all my little circle flaps, that's where the windows are going to stay, the pictures are going to go under, I am going in and painting my background. Now the background I'm doing is lots of colour, lots of mark making, all the things that I really love to do in my art journal. And the reason I wanted to put the flaps on now is because I wanted to look seamless. I wanted to be really integrated into the background. Because the background I'm creating is busy, is the best way to put it, because I always do busy. Gluing those over the top they really stuck out, and I wanted them to be sort of hidden as much as possible, so that I could, say that I matter and have all those photos that matter to me, but not necessarily that everyone's going to be going through and searching for. So I'm starting out by just scraping on paints. These are acrylic paints I'm using, and I'm using the Dina Wakely acrylic paints because that's what I've got. So I've got lemon, lime, magenta, turquoise. I think I use most of the range by the end of it because I love them and I keep adding colour. And basically what I'm doing is just layering over all my colour to where I'm happy. One of the things with acrylic paints, which is really great, if you heat up the layers as you go, it is permanent and you can layer up your colours. So because the yellow and the pink were already dry, I could put the blue and the green over and it wasn't going to make another colour. Now I'm just going in just to add a little bit of pattern and interest to my page with some washi tape, and I'm just using black patterned washi tape, and I particularly like this washi because it's got lots of mark making on, which I love doing, but any black and white washi will work. We're going to paint over it anyway, so at the moment it looks like it really sticks out, but it is going to blend in with everything at the end. Now obviously if you don't have black and white washi, you could do some black stamping perhaps, just something to add a little bit of contrast onto the page. The next thing I'm doing is going in and painting sort of this scallopy shape across the page, and this background is inspired by an Australian artist called Jen Hall. who's been doing some wonderful free classes at the moment. She does a lot of very colourful backgrounds and stuff for her mixed media scrapbooking and project life pages, and she uses very strong shapes across her page. This shape she uses an awful lot, and the reason I really liked it for this page is because I wanted somewhere to put my title. I wanted somewhere for the words on my page to sit somewhere. So it doesn't need to be that sort of shape, but you possibly might want somewhere to put your words at the end. Because I had paint out and because I love mark making, I'm just going in with my paintbrush and just making marks across the page. Now when I make marks on my pages, I like to do them in a series of 3. Odd numbers look really great. In artwork, it draws visual triangles between your pieces. So if you can put an odd number on your page, it just looks a little bit more balanced, which seems really strange. The other thing when you're adding mark making to the page, it's really, really important that you connect them to the edges so it's not floating in the middle of the page. So on all 3 spots, I've got them sort of going off the edge of the page just to make sure that they're grounded or anchored. For those people who usually follow my channel, for people who are coming here for the YouTube hop, this might look a bit strange, but for my regular people, this is what I love to do. I love neon colours. Neon colours are translucent. They are very, very vibrant, but what they do is they boost the colours underneath. So I am using colours I've used underneath. I'm using the green, the yellow and the pink. I'm putting it over those sort of areas on my page, and I'm just using my fingers to paint them in, and you can see everything underneath them. So they are highly translucent, but it just boosts the vibrancy on the page and makes something that could look sort of drab and dreary really come alive. The next thing I'm doing is going in with some more paints and doing some more mark making. So I'm just using a different size paintbrush. This is a small one. Again, going in that 3s and just spreading it out around the page. There's no rhyme or reason to where I'm putting any of these marks. I'm just having fun. And it's a really, really mindless activity, but I find that's what I really enjoy about art journaling, because I can get into the zone, and by doing this and by having something on in the background and some paint on my hands and just not thinking, I relax my brain, I let go of my worries, I stop overthinking, and usually at the end of it I actually feel quite accomplished because I finished something, instead of sitting on the couch and doing nothing and feeling miserable with myself. So for me it's a really, really positive thing to do. And I know many people art journal for those reasons. If you don't, it's still a really fun thing to do. So I would highly encourage everyone just to get some paint and just to have fun. So with the paints, you can see I'm sort of doing different marks. I've added some lines into that sort of scallop shape. I've put some yellow and some pink, made some cross shapes on it as well. And as always, I'm drying my layers as I go. Now, some people have really strong feelings about drying acrylic paint because it is a type of plastic. I work very quickly and I work all in one go. I don't like to leave things unfinished, so I like to just get on with it. And for me, to get on with it without mucking up colours and so on, it means I need to dry my layers. I work in a ventilated area, so it's all good. You might, if you don't work in a good ventilated area, you may need to open a window. If you're really patient, you might actually just leave your journal and go on to something else and come back to it. So there's lots of ways to get around it, but that's one of the reasons why I use my heat gun so much. So now to add contrast back into my page, it was looking all very samey. So I'm going in with some black drawing ink. If you don't have black drawing ink, just use black acrylic paint, maybe water it down slightly. And you can see by adding, again, those mark making bits and pieces over here with a black pen, just boosts the colour on the page. It frames everything up and it gives you some focus. Before, while we had everything sort of just jumbled on the page, it was lacking a lot of focus. But now by framing things up, it just makes the huge difference. I'm also going in with some white, because white does the same as black. It adds those highlights to your page and adds that bright pop on the page. Again, for those people who follow my channel regularly, they know I've got a running battle with white space. I really don't like it, and I really struggle to leave any on my page. So my secret weapon is my white pen, or stenciling over my finished piece with some white paint, because adding the white at the end means I'm more likely to actually keep it white. So I'm going over and I'm adding marks over those black. You know, some of those lines were very, very intense, so I'm just knocking those back a little bit. I want to keep the focus on that swirly shape across the middle, so I'm highlighting that. I'm going around my circles with my scribbly lines as well, and you can see I'm not being very careful with my scribbly lines. That's one thing I found when you're doing this sort of thing, which again is really, really freeing. The more careless you are, or loose, I suppose, is the correct way to do it, while you're making those shapes, the better, because it looks deliberate. If I tried to really carefully go around those circles and I made a slight mistake, it would really stick out. The fact that I've just gone nuts and went all over it, it kind of looks like I'm supposed to do it that way. So now I'm going in and actually hiding the things underneath my flaps. And this is the reason why I chose to do the background first before put the flaps on first before I decorated, because you could see I wouldn't get that seamless effect across my background. Because I was a little bit heavy-handed with the paint, some of my flaps stuck a little bit, so you can see I've got my craft knife to get out and underneath it. It really doesn't matter. You could certainly paint underneath here. You're noticing I'm having to put a little bit of paint because I've got the photos didn't quite go to the edges of the pages, but I'm just going in with my fingers and adding a little bit of paint. You could also paint the top of the flaps. I chose not to, and I've got some of the paint hiding under there. I wasn't really bothered by that because I'm the only one who's really going to be looking at it, but certainly you could, you know, stick pattern paper under there, you could paint under there. It's totally up to you. I would, however, do it as one of the final things, because if I'd painted or added pattern paper before I did that background on my page, some of that paint may have gone on and ruined what I'd already done. So leave your flaps to the very end to add your paint to. Now I'm just going in and gluing in my pictures. There's a wide variety of very strange pictures, but as I said before, it was actually nice including these pictures that my daughters had sort of taken of me, or I think the big ones I'm looking very serious in was a selfie after I'd been to the hairdresser, after I decided that I was going to embrace my greys. So that was me having my first appointment to sort of lighten down my hair. And this one with my hand up on my head was my daughter taking a selfie. She loves grabbing my phone now, so I was posing for her because she's very into posing and having to pose for things. The ridiculously blurry picture was again one she was taking. She was jumping around and grabbed my phone and was taking photos of me, and I just really liked the memory that it brings back. So having those memories is really, really important. They connect me to those pictures. I'm just going in with some washi tape and creating a little tab on each of the circles just to help open them. Even though I sort of want them to be seamless in the background, it gives you a bit of an idea that they are supposed to be opened, but you know, they do blend into the background as well. So you can make it as obvious or as subtle as you want about these flaps on your page. While I was sort of going on, I was trying to think what I wanted to do on this page. I knew I wanted to put the words "You Matter" on here because that was a big theme. And as I journal and do things like this, even though it looks quite random, the thought process, I suppose, is, you know, I was sitting there thinking about those photos and thinking about what they meant to me and thinking about, well, what does the "You Matter" mean to me, you know? Why is that important to you? Why does that resonate with you? And sometimes it's a really hard question to answer. So one thing I really like to do with my journaling is to just write. Not worry about spelling, not worry about punctuation, not worry about legibility. Just write what's on my mind about that topic. So on the front of each flap, I wrote part of my life. So teacher, artist, me, sister, mother, daughter. And just having those words on the front, that's what I wrote about underneath. Just without really thinking about it, I just wrote about what that meant to me. And probably one of the most powerful ones for me was the one about artists, because I am now comfortable with calling myself an artist. You know, I'm not a fine artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I enjoy art. I do art every day because I love it. And that makes me an artist. And I'm not going to apologise for it. And it's taken me a long time to be comfortable with that. And the same with that picture of me, you know, embracing my greys. And I wrote under that about how now I'm older, I will say no to people and I will try and put myself first, which is something I never used to do. I always used to go with the flow and make the peace. So by just going through and writing, it just clarified things for me, I suppose, and brought things into focus. So I hope that you have a go at doing this too, and I hope it brings you some clarity and peace and, I don't know, makes you realise how important you are and that you matter, because, you know, you do. Everyone does. So I found it very cathartic to do this. And as you can see with my writing on here, it's really, really scribbly. For those people who follow Dina Wakley, she, on her Art of Dina Wakley blog, has got a whole heap of videos that she was doing during March. One of them is on asemic writing, which is writing that's not very legible. And it's a really interesting video to go and watch if you're interested in that process. So the last thing I did was, before you matter, I wrote you are loved and you are worthy, because they're two things that I suppose we don't really say to ourselves very often. And that's one thing, again, as I grow older, you know, I value me and I love me, and that's important. And if I can love me, I know other people can love me too, hopefully. But if I love me, that's enough as well. So this is the final pieces that I've done for this hop. I really hope you enjoyed this and you have a go at it. Please click on the links below. The next person you're going to be visiting is the lovely Lucy, who helps run the live journaling and self-development group. So you'll find lots and lots of wonderful stuff from her. And also continue going around the hop to see all the other fabulous artists that are involved in this process as well. And remember, you do matter. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.